What's going on, everybody? My name is Edward Ferguson, and welcome to the HTown Handshakes Podcast. On this episode, I have an amazing guest here from home in Houston, Texas, Miss Tracie Jae, the Quiet Rebel. Say hello, Tracie.
Hello, everybody.
All right, come up a little bit closer to the microphone. We need that 3-finger gap between the mic. Let me adjust your microphone. If you guys hear the microphone adjusting, I am literally adjusting the microphone.
He is literally adjusting the microphone.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you sound way better now.
Okay.
I can hear you.
All right.
Nice and
Awesome.
crispy. So on HTown Handshakes, on this podcast, what we do is we highlight the best and brightest of Houston's business scene. And so my special guest is going to share some amazing tidbits about her journey and her life and some projects that she has going on.
Awesome.
All right, so let's jump into it. So, Miss Tracie,
Yes.
tell us about you.
So, sort of my canned response when someone asked me to introduce myself. My name is Tracie Jae. In business and in life, I am the Quiet Rebel.
Yay.
My work in the world is creating incremental and organic shifts to the status quo. And these days, that looks like helping leaders leverage their curiosity to spark change.
That's amazing. And we all know there's a lot of changes going on right now.
Yeah. This has been a sort of winding journey for me. I think that's probably true of most entrepreneurs, though, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
I think we all kind of start on this. I think this is the direction I was supposed to go in. And then we go to that direction and we're deep into the forest and like, I need a guru or
Exactly.
I need to find a little house with the wizard to
Yeah.
direct me.
And then you realize you're your own guru.
Yeah. You are the wizard.
You are the wizard.
Whoa.
Right? Yeah. So we sat down, we were blowing bubbles, right? Like that's a thing for me. And I blow bubbles as a way to remind myself to breathe and to literally watch things leave my body that don't belong there.
Yeah.
And in the earliest iteration of the Quiet Rebel, I was doing bubble meditations. Like that was the business model. I was going to have people in the park with me blowing bubbles. And it was working.
That sounds like a pretty good business model.
I mean, listen, it was delightful.
Yeah.
I was hosting bubble meditations through Airbnb, whatever their platform is called.
Mm-hmm.
And people were paying me to come to the park and blow bubbles.
So let me ask, were most of them men? Because they say we like to play so much.
No. But I did have a couple of guys who like brought their girlfriends as a date.
Oh, wow. That's nice.
Right?
Yeah.
As a bubble blowing date. Right?
Better than axe throwing. Not to knock the axe throwers out there.
No, axe throwing has its place.
Yes.
Everything has its place. Well, most things have their place. But so now I still bring bubbles with me everywhere. And as a professional facilitator and as a person who often is helping other people navigate difficult conversations, I find that we are sometimes holding our breath. And I don't want people to do that. Right. So I bring bubbles with me everywhere.
Wow. So how did the bubble idea or the bubble concept come about?
It was sort of by accident. I was unpacking. I had moved into a new spot and found some bubbles in a box and was blowing them with my friend who was helping me unpack. And she was like, "Girl, this is super relaxing." I'm like, "Yeah, it really is."
Wow.
And then I was like, I wonder if other people would want to do this with me. And here we are. I mean, there we were.
Oh, wow. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I can imagine that a lot of business ideas started out like that. And you're just having a good time, just living your life. And you have that moment and say, you know what would be really cool? And then next thing you know, it's like, we have cars.
Right. Exactly. So bubbles have been they've become a bit of a trademark for me, a staple. And it's interesting to me to run into people who say, "Oh, you're the bubble lady."
Yeah, you're the bubble lady to me.
Yeah.
Besides being Tracie, but yes.
Yeah. But like people don't always remember my name. They sometimes remember these funky glasses, right? Because one circle, one square. And the people were like, do you realize that your glasses are not the same? I do realize that, yes.
It was a conscious decision.
It was absolutely conscious. I mean, again, quiet rebel, right?
Quiet rebel, yeah. So, so we're in the forest, or in your case, I guess you're unpacking, and you have this business idea. Tell our audience about your journey at its beginning, and then we'll jump into how it's going today.
Yeah. So when I started the Quiet Rebel, it was an effort to bring together all the things that seemed disjointed that I loved doing with and for people. But for me, there's always been a thread. The thread has always been connection, conversation, and curiosity. And so no matter what package that's been in my working life, those three things have been consistent. So it started with bubble meditation and with silent retreats and trying to offer people space for mindfulness. But that mindfulness also included introspection, right? So being curious about ourselves and not just who we are in the world, but how we got to be who we are in the world. And this practice of asking ourselves what I call big life questions, because we are inundated with tiny questions all the time, right? Mm-hmm. Do we have AA batteries, right? What's for dinner, right? What's the weather like? Is there traffic? All of these questions that take up space in our mind that we don't push to the side enough to ask deeper questions about what we think, feel, believe, and how we got to think, feel, and believe those things. Mm-hmm. Also, in the early iteration of this work, I hosted a class called Would I Marry Me?
Would I marry you? Whew. That's a hot topic right there. There's a lot of guys, if you have to marry yourselves, you'd be like, you know what? The single life, it's kind of nice.
Right. So I've been married twice and divorced twice, right? And one of the things I came to realize, maybe too late, was that I didn't know enough about myself in either one of those situations. And so I was making decisions. I was choosing life partners based off of who I thought I was at the time. And mostly who I thought I was built on who other people told me I was. And not because I had sat with myself for any amount of time to decide who I am or to figure out who I am, to listen to my spirit and my gut, right? And so I also invited people along that journey with me to ask themselves deeper questions. That led to the creation of a card game called I'm Glad You Asked.
Okay. Is it out there? Like, is it something that we may have played before?
It is something that people would have played. I don't remember how many decks of cards we sold, but this has been not quite a decade ago. And when I launched, it seemed like a really novel idea. There weren't 18,000 card games on the market that ask you questions. Now there are plenty.
Right. Yeah.
That idea and that project came at a time in my life where I was going through a divorce. I had lost my house. I didn't know where I was going to sleep. I didn't know what I was going to eat. Like, there was a lot of other things taking up space in my mind. Mm-hmm. And so although there were people who were excited about that project with me and who invested their time and energy and money, I was not in a place to receive that. And it became overwhelming for me. So I had to shelve that project.
Oh, wow.
And sometimes we have to step away from things because they might be a really good idea, but they just might not be in their right season.
Yeah. And that's a challenge that I think a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs, just people in general that we go through, that you think it's going to be the straight line and you end up in the middle of the forest.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. So you had the epiphany for this project. You launched the project. The project had a bit of success, and then you stepped away from the project. So then what happened?
So nothing that we've done in our life is ever wasted,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I spent 20 some odd years, roughly 20 years, working in Houston's nonprofit industry. Most of that time was in ecumenical, faith-based spaces. And I had an opportunity to do a lot of work with interfaith conversations, interfaith dialogue. And in 2019, I started wondering what those conversations might sound like if we were talking about race and culture rather than just religion.
And that's like before the world was going off the rails.
Yeah. And so I started searching for a place to have that conversation with people, and I couldn't find the conversation I wanted to have, so I decided to host it. So in 2020,
Entrepreneurial view,
right? I think this entrepreneurial thread has been in my DNA my whole life. So in 2020, on the leap day in 2020, February 29th.
So it was like 2 days ago.
It was like 2 days ago. Exactly. Because who can keep track of any time between now and 2020, right? It's all just a blur. But that day is pretty clear for me. I hosted an event called 100 Voices. It was 100 women from various backgrounds coming together to have a guided conversation about race and culture. So I curated the questions. There were 10 tables of 10 women. And at all of those tables, they were answering the same questions. But of course, they were having different conversations because the humans at the table were different.
Right. Like, that sounds exciting. You know, I'd be jealous as a guy. I was like, yeah, what about us?
Yeah, well, actually, it didn't start off as a women's only event, but women were the only ones who were saying yes.
That's because you didn't have the toys. You had mentioned bubbles.
If I had mentioned bubbles, and there were bubbles there, but I didn't mention it in advance. But yeah, so women were the only ones that responding, and then they started asking questions. Where are there going to be men? And I was like, well, it doesn't look like there's going to be men, so we just made a decision. This is a women's event.
Wow.
And also it turned out that because we were talking about topics where there's a lot of sensitivity and vulnerability, sometimes when you're in a gender specific space, it is easier to be vulnerable because you're not questioning the energy of the other gendered people.
Right.
Right. And I hadn't thought past that event. I was like, okay, I'm going to have this event, right? And if it's good, then like maybe it'll be annual. Like that was the thought.
I just turned into a woman's retreat.
Yeah, well, yeah, whatever, right? Like I thought about that night.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's get through that night and see what happens. And because I'm a Houstonian, and because Houston is, at least on paper, the most diverse city in the country, I thought this city needs this. And if it is successful, then we'll make it an annual event. It'll be like my gift to my city.
Right. Okay.
And a couple of things happened at the end of that event. The first one was when it was time to leave, the women were like, no, we can't leave. We just barely started talking. Like we need this conversation to keep going. What needs to happen so that we can keep talking to each other?
Right.
I was like, okay, that gives me something to think about. I don't know. Let me go home and figure it out. I'll let you know. Right. The other thing was that I have a friend in Seattle who I met in a PhD program that I decided not to complete. And
that's another conversation. That's another podcast episode.
Right. She noticed, like she saw the pictures on Facebook, and she said, hey, this event seems super interesting. Would you be interested in coming to Seattle to do it? And I was like, cool. Yes. I've never been to Seattle. Let's go. Let's do it.
Right.
Right. So again, this was February 29th, 2020.
I'm thinking, as you're talking, that's like, man, this is like the We Don't Care party.
Right.
It's starting. I'm sensing some similarities here.
And so we set a date. We picked a date in the summer of 2020. We're like, okay, I'm coming to Seattle. She's going to help me plan it. all the things.
Right.
Well, then 2 weeks later, the world shuts down.
Yeah.
Right. And we're like, you know what? That's okay. We're not going to let this defeat us. There's Zoom. We're going to do it still. We're going to do it on Zoom. So we kept planning. And then in May of 2020, George Floyd was murdered and the world cracked open. And people all over the country were trying to figure out how to have this conversation that I had just had with these 100 women. Mm-hmm. And so what happened after that was a surprise to me, was that you started getting invitations to have this conversation in lots of places virtually throughout the country. So we were able to do 100 Voices for women in Seattle and Portland and New York and I don't know, I can't think of the other cities right now.
That was
right.
good, but many markets.
But many markets,
need, yeah.
Right? There's a need. And then the women who were in those rooms said, do you also do this for organizations? And I was like, well, I hadn't, but I could. And so I started getting invitations to host 100 Voices conversations for businesses, for their staff, for their clients. And one of those conversations that is really like cemented in my mind was we did a 100 Voices conversation for some high school students who were in 2 separate schools.
Okay.
Of course, again, this is all virtual. And one of those conversations happened on January 6th as the nation's capital was being stormed.
Oh, wow.
And so these young people who are having this discussion in real time about race and culture with people from various backgrounds, some of whom they had never met, are also in real time being able to discuss this really pivotal moment in our nation's history live. So I'm like, it's forever embedded in me where we were January 6th.
Wow. As you're talking about this part of your journey as a business owner, but ultimately as a person, it's just amazing that I'm listening to you, and the audience is probably going, it's like, wow, that's amazing. You open up your heart, and then the opportunity is there.
Yeah.
And it's like, you were going through a particular challenge. You put something together to solve that challenge that you were dealing with, and then you have these events, and they're not really resonating with somebody, and the next thing you know, it's like, oh wow, we're on the elevator, we're moving on up,
right?
And that's just pretty amazing.
Yeah, I could never have scripted this, and if someone had asked me to write a 5-year plan when I first launched The Quiet Rebel, it wouldn't look anything like this.
Right. How could it?
Right. I would have had no way of knowing all the world events that would conspire to impact the work that I'm doing. Right. So the next part of this puzzle that gets to come together is because we're doing these conversations throughout the country virtually, and because a few people in my life also know that I have this background in training and teaching, they started asking if I did DEI work or if I could do consulting around diversity, equity, inclusion. And again, I was like, well, I haven't been, but I could. And so I started studying and learning all the things I could learn so that I could deliver honestly and confidently about these ideas, right? Diversity, equity, and inclusion. And what happened on the other side of that, though, was that sometimes I was being invited into spaces just so people could check off a box.
Yeah, okay. I can see that.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, we did our DEI. Thank you for coming. And that didn't feel good to me. And I didn't want to be that person. Money is important because we live in a capitalist country And
money drives a lot of
things. And so, like, I got to eat, right? But all money ain't good money. And so I wanted to be okay looking myself in the mirror, saying yes to opportunities. So I stepped back again and said, okay, what do I want to do? Yes, I believe that this is a space that I'm supposed to be in. This is work I'm uniquely designed to do, I think. But what is it that I want? How do I want to be in this space? So I created a few other things. One of them was called the WARE assessment, WARE. Stands for willingness, awareness, readiness for equity work. Which was just a check, like a meter for me, right? If I'm going to come into this space and I'm going to work with your 15 leaders, if 8 of them are like, nah, this ain't for me, that's probably not the room I want to be in.
So you put like some checks and balances in place.
Yeah. And fortunately, most people were really honest, right? And what I also learned doing those assessments before I would say yes to a project is that most of us are in the like messy middle, right? Not everybody is like, nah, I'm not for it. And not everybody is like, yes, let's go. Most of us exist someplace in the middle of that equation. And we're like, I just want to live my life, man. I just want to live my life. I don't want to interfere with your life. You know, can we all just, to be very cliche, can we all just get along?
Yeah. Okay.
Right. But how? Right? How? Yes.
How to make that?
How do we make that real? And so the other thing that I came up with, I don't really say that I came up with it. I really say it came to me. Right? It was more of like a download than me like saying, okay, how do we fix the world? It was more like, no, here's what I want you to tell the people, and I respond to spirit. And so there's a framework originally called human-centered equity, but it kept getting confused with like human-centered design and human-centered everything else.
Sorry, so many different projects, but different objectives.
Yeah. And so now I refer to it as a more human approach, human still being the most important piece of this equation. Mm-hmm. HUMAN is an acronym, stands for honest, urgent, meaningful, accountable, and nuanced. And
write that down.
Yeah, save it. Or just go to my website and see it. It's there. So it is a way of looking at the decisions that we're making and remembering that on both sides of that equation, there are humans, right? I, as the human who needs to make this decision, and you as the human who is being impacted by my decision, right? And so if we are thinking about the human acronym, right? Mm-hmm. Each of those words also has a question attached to it, or the idea of a question. Human is what are the facts? Honest is what are the facts? Urgent is what's most important right now? What's on fire? Where's the pain? Meaningful is how can we make a positive impact on whatever this urgent thing is? Accountable is who needs to do it, right? And nuanced is what do we miss? Whose voice haven't we heard? What thoughts haven't we considered, right? Because we're human, and so we come to this with our own thoughts, feelings, and beliefs, but there's always some more. And so how do we stop and consider the some more?
Wow, that's really good. Are you like secretly an engineer? In chance?
I'm not secretly an engineer, but funny you should say that because I had just told a friend recently who is an engineer that if I had been left to my own devices, I probably would have been a scientist. I'm a really good writer. And so that's the thing.
I would contend that you are a scientist.
Well, that is the same thing that that is the same thing that she said. Right?
Social engineering.
Exactly. She said that to me, and I appreciate that because I see myself as a scientist. I'm a writer. I've been a writer my entire life. It was my first passion and my first love. And when you get celebrated for a thing, then that's typically the direction that you go in, right? And so
that's what we're trained to do. It's like, I did a good job here. Let me go in this direction. Oh, I'm doing it. Let me go in this direction.
Yeah.
So we end up with having this whole thing of baggage behind us from all those accolades that we got. But really, you didn't really want to do that. You just kind of...
Right. We were just good at it.
Following. Yeah.
Right. And, but what I really I didn't understand that this was like a passion for me, was like really understanding how things work and specifically how people work and what makes us the most human at our best and at our worst, like what's at that core. Mm-hmm. And one of the places that I'm really leaning into right now is this idea of curiosity, right? Like, as I said in my introduction, because yes, like this common thread of questions has always been present in the work that I do, but the questions are because of curiosity. And when we stop being curious, we stop growing, we stop changing, we stop having impact on the people around us and the places and the things around us. We gotta be curious about life, about the world, and about each other.
I think that curiosity, I think it comes in so many different formats, and in some aspects, how we are socially or culturally engineered, and I'll use the word engineered. Curiosity is not part of that equation. If you're curious at work, you may not have that job. If you're curious, even as a youth, you may not have such great grades.
Yeah.
So, it's amazing that you're finding a way to kind of recapture that aspect that we kind of missed.
Yeah, I think it's been trained or conditioned out of us, right? Stop asking so many questions. Why you need to know?
That phrase, curiosity killed the cat. Do you want to die? You want to be that dead cat?
Right? But like, it's the secret sauce. We have to be curious. We have to want to know more, right? If, for instance, I believe that you hate me, but we haven't really had any conversations. I just think, Edward don't like me.
It's just an assumption.
It's an assumption, right? I'm creating a story, right? And so until I have a conversation with you and I say, you know what? Every time I see you, you be looking at me sideways. Why is it?
Because I'm not wearing my glasses and you're all the way down the hall.
That part. Right? Right? So here I am walking around with this whole made up story about Edward don't like me when he really just can't see.
Wow. We laugh at that, but it's so true. It happens more than we care to realize.
Right. And it's because we never bothered to ask a question.
It's like, no, do you have beef with me? What? Am I hungry?
Right. No, I'm seriously Mr. Magoo over here. And like, I'm just like, no.
Like, nah, I just couldn't see you. I was squinting.
I really just dated myself. Y'all don't even know who Mr. Magoo is.
Magoo. Yeah. Somebody knows who Mr. Magoo is. I mean, they have some of those characters in these old in the parades, and I'm saying old. They're everything is getting recycled. Rocky and Bullwinkle even came back, and that was way before our time.
It wasn't way before my time.
They brought Voltron back like 4 times. The Hulk, Spider-Man, Barbie, She-Ra, He-Man. Keep on recycling. Transformers. Like, did you watch the same show? Cinderella?
Yeah.
Pinocchio. I think there are like 6 Pinocchio movies.
Oh.
Anyway, so let's talk about today.
Yeah.
So where are we today? What is the biggest and best thing that's going on right now?
The biggest and best thing that's going on right now is that I've been able to take this human framework and train a GPT model.
Okay, so now we're in the age of AI.
Now we're in AI, right? And I wanted a way to put this framework into people's hands faster, right? And also, to be honest, in a way that didn't require me to be there all the time.
Okay, yeah.
Right? And people kept saying, write a book.
That is the way, is write a book or make an online course or something like that.
Right?
Yeah.
And I could have done those things, and I may still do those things, but how much better is it if I can just put it in your hand and you can apply it immediately to the challenges that you're currently facing? And AI allows us to do that. And so there's a private GPT coming out soon. You heard it here first.
You heard it here first.
Called Actively Human.
What did DJ say? Like, new music. I need to have a thing like new app or something like that. But the DJ, press the sound effects button. Anyway, go ahead. I digress.
No, it's all good. It's called Actively Human, and it is ChatGPT powered. And so you will put in your challenge, personal or professional, and it will respond to you through the framework. It will ask you questions to help you think more deeply about the challenge that you're facing. So it's not designed to give you the answer. I think sometimes we're in too much of a hurry to rush to the answer, and we're not spending enough time with the questions.
Hey, I'm about answers. I'm all about answers. If you know me, I'm about the answer. It's like there's a problem, there's a blueprint, and with the blueprint, there's the answer.
And also, we get better answers when we ask better questions.
Yeah. Well, that's another conversation.
So I'm putting you in a position to ask better questions of yourself and of the people around you.
Yes. So actually, I've taken the how would you call this? Would you call this like a digital assessment?
It's not even an assessment. I would say it's a reflection.
Okay, so I've done the digital reflection.
Yeah.
Or the AI generator. I think we're in need of some newly coined phrases.
I think you're right, and maybe at some point we'll create them. But for now, we'll just call it Actively Human, because that's what it is.
Okay, so I've done Actively Human, and it has given me some really human responses. And in terms of, I guess, stimulating thought and stimulating questions to ask, it will most definitely do that.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Right, like, I feel like I've done some pretty cool things in my life, and I have invited people into spaces that were sparked by my own curiosity. Mm-hmm. But this time, like, every time I talk to somebody about it, I like bursting. Like, my face is hurting. I'm so excited.
You should be excited about that. I mean, anytime that you have an idea, something that's inside of you, and I even think about your journey of these other things, and you take that outside of yourself and you make it available for someone else, that's amazing. You just gave birth to a new idea.
Yeah.
I mean, it is pretty cool. You know, everyone doesn't have that. You know, we talk about curiosity, but the step beyond that curiosity is the execution. Everyone doesn't have some of those steps. So I'm excited for you for that too. So question, as we're wrapping up.
Yes.
The question I asked, you know, if you had a piece of advice to tell beginning you on this journey as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, what piece of advice, one thing now, because I know some people have like, oh man, there's like books and books. What's the one thing that you would leave with them?
If I was talking to early Tracie on this journey, I would say, trust the path. Like, it's wide open and it's very freaking cool.
Okay, trust the path. All right, you heard it here first. Trust the path. I guess second, because she would be telling her. So, anyway, guys, Tracie, first of all, tell us how we can find out more about you, about your project. And then we'll wrap up.
Yeah, so I'm pretty easy to find. As the people say, I'm Googleable. I'm also ProQuestable because my friend wrote her dissertation about my work.
Again, exciting.
Slow brag. I'm at thequietrebel.org, thequietrebel.org. I'm also Tracie Jae on LinkedIn, and The Quiet Rebel LLC on Instagram.
So just Google The Quiet Rebel and make sure you go to .org, because .com, there may be some issues around that.
Yeah, the issue is that it cost a lot of money to buy, and I didn't buy it.
So for those of you that are looking to sponsor a great opportunity, check out Tracie. Help her out with the .com.
Exactly.
She's like, yes. All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in for this episode. My name is Edward Ferguson, your host of the HTown Handshakes Business Podcast. Check us out on all major streaming platforms and check us out at the website. And if you haven't already, we have a new app out there. It's the HTown Handshakes social app. So just, again, go to the website, download it, and I'd love to hear about what you think about it. All right, guys. Ms. Tracie, thank you for coming out today and sharing your amazing journey with us. And we will see you all next time.
Thank you.